Howdy folks, it's Angel the Hunting Gear Guy. This is the Tandemkross Ultimate Trigger Kit for the Ruger 1022. The idea is you're going to replace the components with this flat face trigger, hammer, sear, and a different spring for the trigger return spring. Normally the, here let's unload this, so no mag and nothing in the chamber. Normally the spring is right there. That little plunger there basically presses back on the trigger, so that's what's pulling back. It's, I don't know, okay, it's simple, but this other one's going to do away with that. It's going to use a new hammer and sear to give a crisper engagement, and it's going to go with a flat face trigger instead of this rounded one. So why don't we get started? All right, we've got our trigger pack out. Next, we're just going to, well, let's just let the pressure off here because we've got to replace everything in here anyways. So we've got our hammer loose. Let's just go ahead and start pushing pins out here. It's all got to go anyways. You know what? While I'm at it, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do the bolt hold open mod on this guy here. Zip that guy off. And I think, no, I still need to get that sear out of there. I'll need to pull that. Actually, I need to pull that off anyways. It's all I got to come out. All right, let's put to the side with stuff we don't need. I don't need this guy anymore because that's my trigger return spring, so I'm just going to chuck it off to the side. There's my trigger return plunger. It goes off to the side. I don't need the trigger anymore. I'm replacing it with another one. I'm replacing the hammer, and I'm replacing the sears. So I can pull those off to the side. They're going to be replaced by the ones in this kit. So there's that flat-faced trigger. And you can see there's a screw hole in there, and that's to handle our over travel. So our over travel screw will allow us to make sure that we don't travel too far. There's our new hammer. And there's our sear. There's our over travel screw there, a new pin, a new spring that's going to be different with this one. That spring is going to act right on this post here for the trigger. All right, now that we're done taking things apart, let's start putting things back together. We've got our disconnector. We're gonna slap it right there. I'm gonna take this little skinny pin here and pop it through. Boop, 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 boop. All right, now I've got my sear and I've got my disconnector. All right, and I'm just gonna hook that guy on there, put it in, not all the way because I want to get a spring in there. Come on, come on. Oh, there it goes. I need to make sure that that gets into that disconnector. Hey, there she goes. Next, I'm gonna take this new pin that they gave me, and this the whole only reason for this pin is to just hold this whole mess together while you're putting it in, because otherwise it's kind of a pain in the ass to get into the gun at the same time. Go to your home. There it goes. There, it kind of just holds the whole thing together, right? Now I'm going to put the over travel screw into the trigger. I'm just going to go in the back here because that's probably going to be faster. So I'm just going to fly that in there. I bet you this little doodad is the perfect size for it. It is. All right, rather than, I mean, I did both. There's the Dremeled factory release. I think I'm going to use this True North Arms release on it just because I have it. I'm going to go ahead and put some of the parts back in here. Let's see, that one? No. All right, got that guy in there. That's also holding my mag release. All right, next I got to get this trigger in there. I also have to put this spring in with it. That's just going to kind of sit like that. So get on there. There it goes. And that this ledge on here will actually hold it. So that's going to be my trigger return spring. And the whole thing needs to, well, this spring leg here needs to go in there on that plastic there. Let's just schmiggle it in there. All right, now you see that spring leg there is sitting on the plastic ledge. That's where it needs to be. It needs to stay there. And she goes. There's that pin. I can see it now. So I need to get this little guy here. Punch that out. All right, and as you get that pin in there, your little assembly pin will just kind of pop out. So we'll get that in there. What do we got here? Nice. All right. If you want to see what it looks like inside there, see that spring leg is on the ledge, and that's my trigger return spring now. So I don't need anything in there. Boop, 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 boop. All right, let's pop this hammer in. Now, one thing to note, this hammer return spring, you see that little guy? It's not a return spring, whatever. That little guy there has to go on, you see that notch, that steel notch in there? Right there. That's where it needs to go. So that spring needs to go on there, which means that it's going to go on this side of the hammer, and then I need to scooch it in and underneath that bolt release here. So I'm going to get it in like this and underneath. And then I think my pin is right about there. So just lining it up so I can see through there. There's my hammer pin in, and I can see that it's on that ledge there. Really what this spring is going to like act against this, right? Next up, I can pull this guy down, and while holding that spring down, I'm just going to pop this pin in here just a little bit so it's holding that spring. And then I'm going to put on my ejector, and it's going to go right there. And I'm going to wiggle this guy until it fits, and now this has some spring action on it, right? Finally, I'm going to get my hammer spring in there, so all I'm going to do is take this guy, stick it in there. I'm kind of pinching it so that I keep the flat towards that, and now she's ready to go. Now, one of the things I'm going to have to do is move that over travel spring because that's about where it needs to be. So I still have quite a bit of ways to go. All right, I've got the over travel screw adjusted. Now, one thing you might want to do is Loctite that. This is just a review unit that my buddy Rick bored to me, so I'm not going to Loctite it on here, but it needs to be quite far out in order to act as a correct over travel. Next, just make sure all your pins are flush and in the correct place. They like to move around. These Ruger trigger packs are quite loose. I'm just making sure that they're all in there, and then I can reinstall it. Make sure that your ejector is in the right spot, and then you can pop it back into the receiver. Oh, gotta get my safety in the middle position. Get that guy in there. Get my 5:30 seconds. Get my 5:30 seconds. Crank that down. All right, now we're ready to test this out. I'm empty. Let's see what that's doing for us. Wow, that's light. I like the reset too. It's nice and crisp. So it does have some travel to it. It's I wouldn't say it's like an AR-15 travel, like a trigger pack or something like that. There's some travel there, but not really a lot. Pretty short, pretty crisp. That is very nice. Much nicer than the factory trigger. Pretty quick to install, and yeah, pretty easy. I wonder if my my bolt release is doing its thing. Oh yeah, it's doing its thing too. This is that True North Arms bolt release, and as you can see there, it sticks out quite a bit more and does its thing, does what it's supposed to. That's kind of neat. Cool. Okay. Well, anyways, that's the Tandemkross Ultimate Trigger Kit, and it's very nice. Very nice. Thanks for watching.